Let me give you a few reasons why bombing a nuclear reactor is not as scary as some in the media might make it sound. So that does sound kind of crazy, but let me explain. The reason why is that modern nuclear reactors are fitted with a containment. That containment, it's an outer shell that is designed to hold in the radioactivity if there was a core meltdown. Now, that containment, not only would it hold in a core meltdown, but it also is designed to withstand a jet impact. And as a result of that, it would be fairly difficult for bombing to breach it. Now, obviously it could. If you have a big enough bomb or you bomb it enough times, you'll breach the containment. Now, obviously that is not desirable because you want to protect the reactor core inside. The reactor core is contained in a steel vessel, a very strong pressure vessel. And again, if you bomb that, you could break it apart. But this is going to require some really big bombs or a lot of bombing or something like that, and then you can break the core. And if you keep bombing it, then obviously you can break apart the core and send the fuel out. The fuel is ceramic, and then the coolant, and yes, then you can start to get some aerosols out there. Now, although that is bad and that is scary, consider this. Chernobyl is probably the easiest to recognize horrible nuclear disaster that we know of. Now, that only killed a few dozen people, 31 or 32 people, somewhere in that range, right off the bat from acute radiation syndrome. And then it caused a few thousand cancers on top of that. So, although that's really bad, absolutely, unequivocally, that is really bad, that still meant that you got to live your life normal without effect for a decade or two before you got a cancer. Most of those cancers are treatable. So yeah, with Chernobyl, you're going to kill potentially a few dozen people outright and then cause a few thousand cancers, assuming that you don't have a good emergency evacuation. Now, the nuclear power plant in Ukraine, if that were to get bombed, then yeah, you could have something similar to that, but you're not going to have a horrible emergency response. They would allow people to leave, and they're not going to hide it, so you're going to get a lot less cancers. The thyroid for sure. And you'll have an actual proper evacuation. So you'll have a lot less. And even if you didn't do that, think about this. If those bombs were used for the city, you're going to kill a lot more than 2,000 people. So in a strange sense, it's kind of beneficial for them to be wasting them on a nuclear reactor because you're not killing people, except for the fact that you're losing the electricity. That might kill a lot of people, but you don't need to bomb a nuclear reactor to get rid of the electricity. You could just hit the electrical lines. Anyway, if it's Chernobyl, it's not as bad as a conventional war. I mean, a couple thousand people is a small price to pay in a conventional war.